Hi, everybody. This is Out of Order. My name is Anthony Buono.
My name is Ben Mayer.
And now we are going to talk about everyone's favorite thing, taxes. So we are in tax season, and that means it's tax return time.
Yes.
But if you're like me, you didn't get a tax return, and you were kind of expecting one.
Did you not?
I owed the money. So
that hurts,
That
man.
sucks. That sucks. And I was interested. I was like, is this a similar experience a lot of people are having? Like, am I weird for not getting a tax return? Like, what's happening?
Mine was lower than I expected,
Okay.
so I'm
Okay.
curious.
I think, honestly, my thing was I didn't pay as much interest on my student loan because I've been paying so much of the principal down.
Okay.
And so last year I was paying a lot of the interest on it.
Okay.
So anyway,
Sure.
That's a little too much personal information for me. But normally, before the pandemic, 75% of filers for taxes typically got tax refunds. But now we're seeing only 65% of people getting tax refunds. So there's been a 10% decrease in the number of Americans who are seeing tax returns. The IRS distributed fewer returns last year, 105 million, than it did in 2010, despite collecting 20 million more returns. Now, what this means is less people are getting their tax returns when they file for taxes. More people are owing the government money, or just not getting anything at all, just breaking even on their taxes. For those who have gotten a tax return this year, the average payment is $3,011. That is up from $133 last year.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Well, that's I think a lot of that comes from like the earned income tax credit, right?
Okay.
And like yeah. So that's how much money.
That's a lot.
Dude, my last tax return last year was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. But there are some reasons for this. I was super curious. So some CPAs are suggesting that these are some possible reasons. Some workers may have gotten salary increases in 2023, but not increased their tax withholdings at the same pace, which means that they're yielding a smaller return.
Okay.
That makes pretty good sense. This is also interesting. This is a changing of the times moment here. Gig workers may have earned more income, but not stepped up their estimated tax payments, again yielding smaller returns.
Sure.
So the rise of the gig economy, people are making more money that way. They haven't their tax refunds just aren't going to be as big. And then also, some filers may have reaped more investment income from a strong stock market, triggering more taxes as well.
Sure.
That's also a big reason.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take into account like the overall like general decline, because we had a good stock market years in the past and we didn't see this decline, right? So the fact that we're still less than 2010 returns, that doesn't really answer that question. But this is how I think it really sums it up. This is the big one. The way that the government is now calculating how much in tax should be withheld from people's paychecks. With the new money given to the IRS with the IRA, the IRS is becoming way more efficient.
Okay.
And because the IRS is becoming more efficient, that means that they're actually calculating how much you're supposed to withhold the right way the first time.
Okay.
And so what's really happening every time you get a tax refund, it seems great. You get a big check in the mail and you're very excited. But what that really means is that you gave the government a zero interest loan for the last couple months. And the money that you should have been having in your pocket has been just being held by the government and doing no work for you.
Yeah.
It would be better if everybody took the $300 that's accumulating in your bad withholdings and your over withholdings and invested that money. But instead, it's not. It's sitting in the IRS accounts and then just getting mailed back to you.
It would technically be better, but it almost makes me wonder, like, should we just set up a system where we agree that the government is taking some amount more than it should be all the time?
Yes, because what I was reading is people view these withholdings as like a forced savings account. And people are saying this. They feel it's like a forced savings account. And they interpret their tax refund as a barometer for how well they're faring under the tax system. And they look forward to these big payouts at tax time.
Yeah, I was on the phone with my girlfriend's sister the other day, and we had both procrastinated and we were doing our taxes on the last day. But she was like, "Oh, I do those as soon as I can because I could always use a big tax return."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now that's no longer a part of the incentive structure because it looked like the IRS is getting more efficient at their jobs.
Yeah.
And so we might tax returns might be declining in the future from now on.
It sounds like such a fun thing to have, though.
I know.
Yeah, just take another $20 or $40 out of every one of my paychecks.
I would listen. We talk all the time about public options. I would love a government public option saving thing. That would be fantastic. Where you could just say like, hey, look, I want $50 out of my check to go into this account. The government holds on to it for you, and then at the end of the year, it says, hey, here you go. You have this. And then if there's like, maybe there could be penalties if you try to take it out early to encourage you to keep it.
Yeah.
I would love to see stuff like that. It's like another, any other avenue for working people to save money and not have their money just ripped away from them as soon as possible by our consumerist culture. That's fantastic to me. So I just think it's really interesting that tax returns might become a thing of the past, or at least decline in the near future. It just says a lot about how we're changing how we're doing things.
Yeah. It would be an interesting like mini cultural shift.
Yeah. I really hope people don't view it as like their taxes are not going as well for them. Also, this is also a very important thing. TurboTax is really scared about tax returns going down, because one of the ways that TurboTax encourages people to file their taxes is to encourage them with a refund.
Yeah.
And so we say, oh, look, if you do this, you'll actually make money by giving us some of it.
Yeah.
Right? So now the IRS is worried that if tax returns don't become a thing, are people not going to file as much? And then is the IRS going to have to do more to go after all the people not filing because they're not making money off of them filing with the tax return?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, that is a really good question. And that might actually induce some different IRS policy and to increase the withholdings again.
I think I would be for that.
I would be for that too.
There's the other thing that I'll mention about what TurboTax is scared about right now, which is that the government piloted a free filing system.
God bless.
Which is awesome. You can only do it if you're in like one of 15 states. And they don't support kind of every variation that you might have on the types of income you made. So it's not completely robust, but I hope it goes well. And I hope that they completely build it out, because honestly, if you have a simple like income and your reporting needs aren't that complex, you shouldn't have to pay $50.
If you're a W-2 person with an IRA and a 401k, this is easy. That's all you got to do. Just go through the government free program. No big deal. The TurboTax is super scared. They've been fighting back against this being implemented for years.
Yeah,
they've been lobbying against this for years because they know what they're doing is the most bottom of the barrel, scraping at the poor. It really is so messed up. Thank you for watching this episode of Out of Order.
Crazy that you made it to the end.
If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe on YouTube and check us out on Patreon.
Yep, link is in the description of our YouTube channel, and we're super poor, so we could use any support you can give.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.